Imagine you are a big pharma company and you're planning a greenfield plant in the US. A state-of-the-art site should rise from an empty plot, but nothing inside is certain. No one knows how lines, AGVs, buffers and conveyors will interact with each other. The factory only exists in single pieces. Impossible to design or to optimize with confidence. So how to handle all these kind of uncertainties and ensuring the construction time stays in schedule? This kind of question we have discussed last year here at Hannover Fair at the Siemens booth together with Roche. Imagining a digital twin integrated in an industrial metaverse for a greenfield plant, the new lighthouse project for Roche. 1 year later, so today, this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like when this imagination becomes reality, with the power of a strong ecosystem between Roche, Siemens, NVIDIA, and Accenture to unlock multi-million savings for Roche, a pioneer in the life sciences industry towards digitalization. And therefore, I'm more than happy that Roche will give us first some insights about this project called Apollo 11. And afterwards, we're moving into a panel conversation together with Siemens, NVIDIA, and Accenture. I hope you are curious because this project and these insights are really a game changer in the life sciences industry. And with that, I would say a warm welcome to our first speaker, Jan Wokittel. He is the Director for Smart Manufacturing at Roche, and he is the Head of Digitalization for this project, Apollo. A big applause to Jan. Jan, come on stage and tell us more about this project.
Yeah, warm welcome also from my side. Thank you for having me, Suzanne. So it's a pleasure today to present you our project Apollo. And this project is called Apollo by a reason. So because, like the missions in the past, we had to deal with a lot of unknown areas and uncertainties. For Roche, it's a completely new product with high volume, a completely new site, and we decided to invest nearly 2 billion to build it. And I would say nowadays planning something in 3D is a no-brainer, so everyone is doing that. So we decided we need to shift this a bit, and we wanted to simulate every process, every footprint, and every heartbeat of the facility itself before the actual foundation is laid. And doing this, we are very under high pressure from a time perspective. We decided to start small in our headquarters in Basel and scaled from there to this big project we will talk about now.
Wow, that sounds exciting, but I would say also quite challenging. So, Jan, what kind of challenging you were facing in this first phase, and what have you learned out of it?
So first we dealt with this so-called investment paradox, right? So you have to dive through a cloud of a lot of fuzzy buzzwords, and you need to figure out, okay, where you want to start. So we started quite small and simulated just little pieces of the facility itself before we went more to a more granular approach. And starting from there, suddenly a so-called snowballing effect kicked into place. So the users contacted us and have seen what's possible, and we figured out more and more use cases we never expected before. With that, next slide, exactly. Our lessons learned, of course, I would say from technology perspective, this is not a big thing. It's quite possible, but the data accuracy was a big thing. We needed to rewrite all tender documents. We had similar discussions with our vendors, whether hardware or software side, to not receive static documents, but also dynamic models at the end. And for us, the mindset shift at the end was a big thing because we wanted to enable the simulation-driven planning, which is a big difference to what you now, I would say, do in classical projects.
And talking about simulation-driven planning and the industrial metaverse, quite often I'm hearing about the industrial metaverse. It looks fancy, but what's in it? Can you give us some insights? What is the real business value for you from Roche side?
So I'm with Roche now for more than 7 years. And I would say I was part of all digital twin initiatives, but honestly, none of them really scaled until now. And the big shift here is because we shift from this rear view mirror to actually the quantified process prediction. And this is a big change in what we did in the past. And by today, with having this in place, I can tell you with surgical precision, you will have this OEE at that line at 9 a.m. in the morning, right? And I haven't been able to do this in the past. And the result is actually that we shattered our initial business case by 40%. Because of this, we were able to realize multi-millions in optimizations and savings.
Wow, I would say that is a great example how also a strong ecosystem can create this kind of value together. Talking about ecosystem, before we continue with the panel, Jan, can you also give us some insights why you have decided to go with this triangle between Siemens, Accenture, and NVIDIA?
Because of the results of our POC in the small scale, we figured out, okay, there's a special DNA needed if you work in such an environment. And now we decided to have this triangle because first, we needed the engine, like the technology nucleus where NVIDIA comes into place. Secondly, the connector. This is where Accenture helped us the most with getting through the fragmented data silos we had in the past and connecting all the different dots. And third, then the brain. And this is where where Siemens comes into place because technology without logic is just noise. And we needed this industrial logic being the brain behind of all of that.
Great. Thanks for sharing these kind of insights. And I would say it's a good time to also right now bring additional insights from these 3 key players on stage. Therefore, I would say, Jan, let's continue. Let's move on. And let's also welcome on stage Hagen Speth from Accenture, Florian Ganter from NVIDIA, and also Stuart McCutcheon from Siemens. Come on stage. Great to have you all here right now, the full power of this ecosystem. I'm really excited to also get right now your perspective on this topic. And to start with, I would like to ask also Siemens and NVIDIA the first question. So the term of omniverse and industrial metaverse is currently everywhere. And for those of us who are perhaps not so familiar with this term, what is the omniverse or the industrial metaverse about? Stuart, can you give us some insights?
So the industrial metaverse is really a place to experience the digital twin. The end goal is to how to make engineering decisions faster, leveraging data from both the physical and virtual world is integrated, right? That's the essence. Now with Siemens, we've been on this journey for 20 odd years, bringing virtual and physical worlds together. We've got a very comprehensive portfolio of software for simulation to be able to simulate all different aspects and really develop the most comprehensive digital twin. That's part of the journey we've been on. And, it's basically we've been working very closely with NVIDIA now to embed Omniverse inside our portfolio, right? To develop out-of-the-box solutions that customers can deploy. So Omniverse brings a set of libraries and toolkits, and we're integrating as many of those as we can into our portfolio. Okay. And really developing commercial joint solutions. You may have heard of Digital Reality Viewer, Digital Twin Composer. These are start of solutions that we're rolling out to help deliver the industrial metaverse in an out-of-box way.
Okay, great. Florian, from an NVIDIA point of view, what would you add?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me thank for being on that panel. It's a real honor being with you with 3 of the greatest partners. And also I want to thank Roche, Jan, for a great vision and driving that.
Right.
So when it comes to the industrial metaverse and Omniverse, first of all, it's a huge opportunity for all of us. It's a huge opportunity to shorten timelines, to increase efficiency, to lower costs, production, planning costs. From a more technical point of view, and from NVIDIA perspective, the industrial metaverse brings the industrial world, the actual facilities, the production sites, the warehouses, into a shared virtual environment, but still obeys the laws of physics. And this is the place where people, AI agents, and robots are going to plan, they're going to simulate, and also continuously iterate before anyone touches the real hardware. And this is where NVIDIA also helps our ecosystem and provides libraries to the ecosystem, the underlying infrastructure to the ecosystem, as well as open AI models and data to fine-tune those models and recipes to bring things together to build industrial metaverse applications and physical AI.
Okay. Then thanks, first of all, for setting the scene for this panel. And right now I would be curious to also understand how to get started with such a project. Hang, looking to you. I mean, Accenture is the system integrator for this project. We've already heard about this project from Jan. From an SI point of view, how you're starting with such a project?
Great question, Susan, and thanks a lot for having us, and thanks to all the partners for this really great collaboration and openness. I would like to call out 4 key elements to focus on, right? So point number 1, start as early as possible, right? The earlier you get started, the earlier you can set the right angles. Secondly, I would say, also aligned with what Julie Sweet and Roland discussed yesterday on the stage, focus on the value, be laser clear on value, on the business objectives you want to achieve. Then also make sure that you assemble the right team. And last but not least, try to be very clear on what is needed during the journey. Agree very early on what needs to be shared by all vendors, that you don't create any challenges along the way.
Okay. So I would say, Jan, start early. We can say check. My question to you is, what's next? So what are Roche priorities for the next phase, and which kind of outcome do you expect?
So we have actually a dual approach. So of course we want to expand what we already have now in place in our existing greenfield projects, but nevertheless we want to go further and use this also then in the brownfield.
Okay, so that means we stay tuned and let's see what's coming. Okay, and we have already heard this project is a lighthouse project for this industry. And when we are having a look into other industries, looking also to Stuart and Florian, which value brings simulation, AI, and the Omniverse and other projects? Florian, can you give us some examples?
Yeah, sure. So the big challenges we are attacking, they are not tied to a specific industry. They are universal. Because if you think about that, changing something which is physical is always very costly and time-consuming, and sometimes it can be actually dangerous. So the power of simulation and the power of AI is helping to overcome those grand challenges across all the industries. Doing what-if scenario simulations and identifying design errors very early on, and optimizing energy consumption, cost, throughput, all that can be done in simulation first. So a simulation first approach is key across all industries. But still, if you look at other industries, and we stay in Germany, if we look at automotive, we see BMW being on the industrial metaverse journey for some years, and they achieved efficiency gain of 30% in production planning. We can also look at logistics with Kion Group, where we all work together with Kion, who's simulating the AMR fleets in a digital twin to optimize the commissioning time. So we see a lot of values and use cases across all industries, because the ultimate challenge is the same.
Yeah. And Stuart, from a Siemens point of view, do you have also other examples from other industries?
Yeah, so it's very exciting. We've got many projects in many different industries, so it's very exciting. 3 years ago, we demonstrated a batteries plant. We've done Hyundai ships, which demonstrated last year. We've been doing our own plant in Erlangen. So we're doing projects in many different industries. And this year, we're highlighting Kion, which was presented yesterday with Roland, and actually PepsiCo over here in the stand, if people want to see it in more depth. And these are exciting new projects, right? PepsiCo was on stage at CES this year with Roland Busch. And they actually came out and said, based on the project that we achieved in 10 weeks, they see achieve a 10 to 15% savings in CapEx and 20% improvement in their OEE. And this was Athena, the CEO of Latin America, and she's had a global strategy for PepsiCo actually presenting this. So it's pretty exciting. Kion, very exciting as well. It's the same relationship, NVIDIA, Accenture together, delivering solution for them. And so it's just of exciting times.
Yeah.
And please stop and look in more depth at the PepsiCo, because that's interesting, because that's a brownfield. So it's exactly what Roche wants to do next, and that's exciting times.
Yeah, agree. And I think PepsiCo is also a good example how also standardization can help in terms of scalability. And when I'm thinking about scaling, I'm also thinking about reusability. Jan, how important is reusability for Roche, specifically for phase 2, and what does also scalable success looks like?
So for me, success always relies on global scalability. Being able to do this, I need the capability of reusability of what's there. For this, and this is now a big challenge for us, I need the openness of the whole ecosystem, whether it's from the hardware or the software providers, right? Because if you deal with such an ecosystem where everything is connected, you always need this openness from everyone.
Okay. And looking back to Hagen from Accenture, because also from an implementation point of view, how to ensure this required scalability and also reusability?
Well, I think two elements are really important, right? Starting with a what, right? So I think it's really important to have an ecosystem with partners who proactively invest in the right capabilities, right capacities, that you don't hit bottlenecks or challenges related to technology as you go, right? So I think that's where the partnerships are super critical, that we can actually build those capabilities. Secondly, the how, from the onset, you need to really have a laser focus on the whole concept of design one, build many, right? So really, whatever you do, you always think of how to scale, what to do next, and how to get this into a standardized, scalable mode.
Okay, exciting times. I don't know how you feel, but I would have a lot of more questions. But time is money, and therefore we have to come to an end. We have to move forward. So therefore, closing question to all of you, and please keep it in one sentence. Last year, we have started the conversation. This year, we see the first results and also how to bring imagination into reality. Where we are standing next year at Hannover Fair. Jan.
I want to be able to showcase more the brownfield optimizations. Okay. Greenfield is cool, brownfield is a challenge.
Okay. Hagen?
I think we could go even further and also have some operational examples, right? How to optimize operations based on digital twinning.
Okay. Stuart?
I think we'll be talking less of lighthouse and more of value we've achieved, right? And that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And Florian?
So in a year from now, and looking to all of us, I predict that Roche will have accelerated the build out of their new facility in North Carolina in record time. Mm-hmm. By the power of the four of us. And also, I predict we're going to see a broad adoption of industrial metaverse applications and physical AI across all industries.
Yep.
Right.